As I sit here recording, a gentle snow is falling. The image has long been the quintessential symbol of winter and death and the cycle of life before giving way to spring and rebirth. How appropriate it is then that I'd like to talk about the movie Hamnet, now in theaters. Chloe Zhao's film, based on the 2020 novel of the same name by Maggie O'Farrell, is emotionally devastating in several key spots. It explores the bottomless grief experienced by William Shakespeare and his wife Anne in the wake of the death of their 11-year-old son Hamnet in 1596. But even as the film works to hollow you out, the process is so manipulative and overdone that in the end, it works against itself. The most succinct way of putting it is that Zhao's storytelling is maudlin, and it is a shame because as well as it works in places, it is not as powerful as it should be overall. The narrative plays on every parent's worst fear, that a child will precede them in death, an all too often occurrence for all of human history until the appearance of modern medicine a little more than a century ago. It has been written about for millennia, including in Euripides' classic play Medea from 431 BCE, in which a Greek chorus muses that parents can do everything right in raising their child, but that at any time there may appear, quote, a throw of chance, and there goes death, bearing off your child into the unknown, end quote. This is precisely what happens in Zhao's film. The Shakespeares raise their children in a loving family, poignantly illustrated by Jessie Buckley's Anne, who is the primary caretaker in Stratford as Paul Mescal's William pursues his dramatic career in London. She fosters a deep kinship among her three children, particularly between the twins, Judith and Hamnet. Judith, portrayed as a frail child, becomes ill with what is presumed to be plague, but she miraculously survives. Young Hamnet, however, then falls ill and soon dies an agonizing and heartbreaking death. How Anne and William deal with this tragedy lies at the center of the film, offering a theory as to the genesis of Shakespeare's most famous play, Hamlet, which stands among the towering achievements in the Western canon. There is no doubt that his son's death had a profound effect upon Shakespeare, whose famous works in the early 17th century are incredibly dark and bleak, particularly as to life's meaning, if there is any meaning at all. Shakespeare has Macbeth muse that life is completely meaningless. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. King Lear reflects that we cry when we are born because we have come to this great stage of fools, a sad and poignant observation when you consider that archaically, fool meant victim. And Hamlet is the greatest thinker in theater, focused on the biggest question of them all, to exist or not to exist, i.e. to be or not to be. Shakespeare clearly is working through his grief and drama in that play, first performed about 4 years after his son's death. Hamlet is Shakespeare's counterpart, a son grieving for a lost father in place of a father grieving for a lost son. Hamlet is suicidal, and Zhao and O'Farrell, who collaborated on the screenplay, have Shakespeare contemplate suicide in the film. That Shakespeare and his wife were in extreme emotional duress in the wake of their son's death is safely assumed. What is not is the depiction of their romance, their marriage, and their specific actions after Hamlet's death. There is much debate as to how happy Shakespeare's marriage was. What we know for certain is that while he was active as a playwright, they spent more time apart than together. Why did Anne, called Agnes in the film and book, and there's evidence this was probably true in real life, not follow her husband to London with the children? There's a reason for it in the film that works for the sake of the narrative, but there is no historical evidence for it. Their romance and marriage until Hamlet's death is depicted as passionate and loving. That runs contrary to most accounts. In the film, his death drives them apart until Anne sees a performance of the play in London. Without issuing spoilers, this is the most emotional moment in the film, and it is simultaneously sad and uplifting because it speaks to the power of art. We live for the blink of an eye, and our struggles and successes both are almost entirely lost to history. But art is immortal, and it has the ability to heal and provide perspective and to inspire, and that is its power. The facts in this instance are secondary to the message. The first is unknowable, the second is certain. In the end, what matters is Shakespeare making his son immortal through his greatest achievement. The details really don't matter. The genius and power of the play are self-explanatory. As for the film that gives us this message, the performances of Buckley in particular and Mescal are among the best of the year. Jacoby Jupe as Hamnet and Olivia Lyons as Judith turn in accomplished and moving child performances. It is a shame that Zhao is so intent on trying to manipulate our emotions in the second act because it affects all else, especially the finale that should completely break us. The rest should not be silence, because we should be sobbing audibly and forcibly in the face of tragedy and triumph.